Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ tvām sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi ma śucaḥ. Sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ tvām sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi ma śucaḥ. Sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ tvām sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi ma śucaḥ. Devotees,
sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi.
This side first and then that side.
ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi ma śucaḥ.
sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ tvām sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi ma śucaḥ. sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ tvām sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi ma śucaḥ.
Vaishnavis?
sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ tvām sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi ma śucaḥ.
sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ tvām sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi ma śucaḥ.
Anyone else?
sarva-dharmān parityajya ekaṁ śaraṇaṁ vraja ahaṁ tvām sarva-pāpebhyo mokṣayiṣyāmi ma śucaḥ.
He can read. Jai, our future. So word for word, sarva-dharmān, all varieties of religion. Parityajya, abandoning. Mam, unto me. Ekam, only. Śaraṇaṁ, for surrender. Vraja, go. Aham, I. Tvām, you. Sarva, all. Pāpebhyaḥ, from sinful reactions. Mokṣayiṣyāmi, will deliver. Ma, do not. Śucaḥ, worry. I like this verse a lot because this is the verse that convinced me to surrender to the movement, to ISKCON, to my spiritual master. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. I will deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Please repeat. Abandon all varieties of religion.
Abandon all varieties of religion.
And just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So it's a long purport, and what I thought I'd do is, there's 4 paragraphs, and I like to have the devotees involved because they're senior devotees, and I'm seeking their blessings to be able to speak something, that will enliven all of us, and mostly it's also for my, upliftment as well. And so I'm asking Prabhu, if you could read the first paragraph, let me assign first. And then Prabhu, if you could read the second paragraph. I'm sorry to point. What's your name?
Satsanga.
Satsanga. Perfect. Okay. So, and Prabhu, your name is?
Surpati Gopal Das. Surpati Gopal Das.
Surpati Gopal Das. So you read the first paragraph, please, Satsanga, you read the second paragraph, and then we'll have two Vaishnavis read. If you, Mataji, could read, it starts the process of surrender, that one. I think that's the one. If you could read that one.
Where?
The process of surrender.
The process of surrender, paragraph.
Third paragraph.
Are you in 1866?
Yes.
Okay, there's a paragraph that begins the process of surrender.
Here.
Before the shloka, Mataji.
714, the process of surrender.
Okay.
Okay, and then Hari Bhakti, if you could read the last paragraph. So, yeah, I like interaction, and I think it keeps our interest in the text, because, you know, sometimes even if you're hearing, you don't hear everything, and then when you go out to class and somebody asks you, sometimes you don't remember, okay, what it was. You know, we may remember the verse, but we don't remember what was actually in the text. So, okay, Prabhu, you start.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Purport. The Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and process of religion. Knowledge of Supreme Brahman, knowledge of Super Soul, knowledge of the different types of orders and status of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of the non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad-Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him.
Okay, so
In the 7th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from the sinful reactions can take to the worship of the Lord Krishna. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here that even if one is Raya free,
not free. Mm-hmm.
one is not free. I have been glasses in fact.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
From all sinful
Reactions.
Can you continue?
Reaction
Okay.
simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. Friend, there is no need of strenuous efforts to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto him.
Okay,
The
Mataji.
process of surrender to Krishna is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilas 11.676. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam rakshishyatiti vishvaso goptratave varnanam tatha atma ni shepa karpanye sadvida sarang gati. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. one should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes free from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory processes by cultivation of knowledge, meditation, in mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrenders unto Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be free from all sinful reactions.
One should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. His name is Krishna because he is all attractive. One who becomes attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. Some of them are attached to the impersonal Brahman vision. Some of them are attracted by the super-soul feature, etc. But one who is attracted to the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and above all, one who is attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself, is the most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness is the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is the essence of the whole Bhagavad-Gita. Karma yogis, empiric philosophers, mystics, and devotees are all called transcendentalists, but one who is a pure devotee is the best of all. The particular words used here, śucaḥ, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to how one can give up all kinds of religious forms and simply surrender unto Krishna, but such worry is useless.
Thank you all very much. So I went back a couple of verses because sometimes, I run into, people, who you're trying to preach to. They ask the question why should I surrender? Or who is this person in this book who keeps trying to attract attention to him? He's always saying, worship me, do this for me, do this for me. And actually, I said before in the classes, we were doing a seminar on the Gita, a friend of mine and her and myself, and we had two scientists come. They were two women, and they were disturbed by this, me. They're like, why is he always talking about me? You know what I mean? Like, why should we give? And I went back to one of the verses, which to begin with, because it's not by force. It has to be by love. So the one is 63 is the one he says, I've explained everything to you. So just, do what you want to do. Make up your mind. You have the free will. He gives us our small independence. So we can make a decision, to either surrender or not surrender or go our own way or try to think that we can control things. So he's saying, deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. It's not like I'm saying you have to, but it's all about love, because you can see it's like he's the all-benevolent Father. I mean, we know him more than the Father. We know all his childhood pastimes too, but actually he's the benevolent Father, the Supreme Person, who's concerned about all his devotees, his children. So he's assuring us, that he's going to take care of everything. You don't have to worry, But we're so used to being in this world and trying to be the controller. And we know how much anxiety that produces. I mean, from my own experience, I know when I was trying to work things out, and you get an anxiety. Is this going to work? Am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to get this job? Am I going to get this apartment? Am I going to do this? You get into anxiety, even, you've taken all the actions. Instead of giving all of that to Krishna and being relieved of the anxiety of trying to do it for yourself. That's why you're in anxiety, because you were trying to do it on your own, and you can't, because that's not your position. It's not your position to be the controller of anything that's going on. Even, like in terms of if you have work or you have a certain duty that you have to do, Krishna is the one who is, actually helping you. You're not really doing anything. He's the one that's actually helping you, to get the job, to maintain the job, to maintain your family. Everything is coming from him. You're not really doing anything. He's behind all the actions that's happening. So he's saying, like the concluding words were, Atichase tathakuru, as you like, you may act. And it's saying that God does not interfere with our little independence. He doesn't force anyone to act according to his instructions. He can give the instructions, but you don't have to follow it if you don't want to. But he gives you knowledge. And then once you have the knowledge, then you have the chance to act. You make a choice. I remember years ago when I went to the Bhakti class, one of my instructors, she was a Prabhupada disciple, and she would always tell us, Krishna consciousness is a choice every second. And I think we can have that realization as we go about our daily lives. We can decide to do something in Krishna consciousness or not, but you always have to make a choice, because Maya is always presenting you a choice. She's there to say, do you want this or do you want that? So, we have to always, it's like mindfulness. We always have to be aware that Maya is on the case. She's on our case. And in terms of the materialists, well, they're already in Maya, so no problem. She's already got them going. But it's those who decide that I don't want to follow Maya anymore. I want to follow Krishna. And that's a challenge. Then it puts you on the battlefield, of consciousness. What am I going to do? Am I going to follow or I'm not going to follow? Because we've been on this, in this material world for so many lifetimes, we can't even count. That's also why it's difficult to leave the body. We've been in for millions of years. So she's always testing us. And my Guru Maharaj used to say, this is the battlefield of consciousness. What is your consciousness going to be? You know what I mean? While you're doing this fight. Because the minute you say you're going to be Krishna conscious, then, okay, she's going to test you. She's going to, see. Because she doesn't want anyone to disturb Krishna. And we know that the pure devotees, they have surrendered themselves to Krishna. And, so those who are totally committed to loving Krishna, then it's not a problem, but we become a problem if we are not fully surrendered and fully want to satisfy Krishna and do everything for him and not just for ourselves. So then, so in this first paragraph, it says here about everything that Krishna has explained to Arjuna. He took him through the whole process. But mostly in all of the chapters, it always ends with, what is the bottom line? When we call it, in America, we call it, when the rubber hits the road, what is the exact end purport? What is the goal? All the things he has explained. He's explained the Supreme Brahman, the knowledge of the Super Soul, the different types of orders and statuses, renounced order, knowledge of everything he's given, sense and mind control, meditation. And he's given so many, it says here ways of different types of religion. We know there's so many different types of religion. And this is what my dilemma was when I was, approaching my spiritual master, was having some kind of belief in God and believing God was personal, but not knowing exactly who he was. And I thought that I was already situated. So when this came up, And then, so I was having a quandary. Do I give up this idea, my own idea about who God is? And do I follow what I've been studying with my spiritual master? He wasn't my spiritual master at the time, but I was following him. So when I read this, it was like a light bulb went on, because he explicitly says, abandon all varieties, whatever you concocted in your head about who God is and your relationship to him, just give it up. This is the summum bonum. This is the real deal right here, you know. So he says, you know, I'll deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So, So we're getting to the essence of the Bhagavad-Gita. This in chapter, and the essence of Bhagavad-Gita, it comes to devotion to Krishna. So we have the verse before, which is 65, which says, Mad Mana Baba Mad Bhakto, always think of me, become my devotee. Mad Yajamam Namaskaru, worship me and offer your respects to me. Mam Ivashasi Satyam Te, thus you will come to me without fail. So now, we have to take Krishna at his word. We can't just read it and just say, okay, I already read it. But we have to really study it and understand what he's saying, and that Krishna is true to his word. So you will come to me without fail once you give up your own independence, because you don't really have any. We think we have, but there's only two choices. You either serve Maya or you serve Krishna. So if you decide, I don't want to serve Krishna, okay, Maya says she will accommodate you. You can serve her as much as you want until you get tired, until you understand there's nothing there. You know, I won't get any happiness. I just get miseries and sufferings, you know. And then it says, parityajya, I promise you this because you're my dear friend. And he's speaking to Arjuna, but we know that Arjuna is a pure devotee. But Arjuna he was presented that information so we could benefit. So Krishna is telling us, I'm your very dear friend. I'm your friend. You know, you will lose nothing by surrendering to me, your heart and soul. And man mana means concentration of the mind on Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge. That original form of Krishna, carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and peacock feathers in his hair. And if you talk to any normal person outside the material world, if you gave them this description of God, would they believe you? No, right? Some do. Well, I'm talking about the West. I don't know about here, but I know the West. You know, there were very few who actually, you know, but once Prabhupada came into their life, they accepted everything Prabhupada said. You know, that's when they accepted. But if someone had told me that, I would have thought, I wonder if they're fantasizing, you know, or making it up. So then, so the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita says, surrender unto Krishna. This is the one we just read. So I wanted to talk about what are the benefits. I was first going to talk about what are the hindrances we have in terms of surrendering or not surrendering to Krishna. What is our difficulties? What are the difficulties we come across? You know, the reason why we may have a difficult time giving up our own control and just giving it all to Krishna. You know, so in 15 chapter Bhagavad Gita 15:5. Their outline, I'll just read it briefly because I want to go to what we gain. But I'll read a little bit of the hindrances, which is 15:5, why we have a problem surrendering completely. And that surrendering process, it's a work. We have to work on ourselves. We have to be introspective. We have to know, where are we in our devotional life. Not that we sit comfortably and think we're okay, you know. One thing is, for at least in my case, was Gurudev would always say, we have to go deeper. We just can't just skim across the surface and you know, like just chant our mouths and think we do all the proper things, we're okay. But we have to search for the deeper aspect of this beautiful process. And, you know, it has to do with prayers. It has to do with really being introspective about what are my anarthas, what am I doing that's prohibiting me from getting to the transcendental level, you know? What is it that's keeping me from being blissful all the time, 24/7? Because we see with the pure devotees, when the spiritual masters, when they're always happy, they're always like blissful. You never see them morose. And a lot of them, when they give class, they're always jolly, they're laughing, they're totally enthused, you know. But maybe we're not always enthused. Maybe we have some ups and we have some downs. Sometimes, you know, it's okay, and sometimes maybe we haven't, you know, this or that, whatever the problem is, whatever we think the problem is. You know, okay, let me just read this 15:5, some things that maybe we can look at. And actually, okay, first let me read this, because also it's pride. If we have pride, if we have envy, and I think envy is a big one. 15:15. No, it was 15:5. Okay. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are free from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who, unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom. So here he's talking about the surrendering process is described very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride. Because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the Lord of material nature, it is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he's not the Lord of material nature. In fact, material nature is beating him, severely beating him. But he doesn't know that. He thinks, you know, well, sometimes, it's like I always used to say, there's the time of any happiness is the short time between problems. Because problems come all the time. But then when you get a relief, you feel like, oh, I'm happy now. You know, but something else happens because there's no happiness in this material world. So you're always going to be suffering, even if you think you're not suffering. You are suffering. Because this place is Kunta, and we need to go to Vaikunta, where there's no anxiety, no problems, no suffering. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. And another contemplation I was thinking is that this idea of not being attached to the body, you know, I think that's a very, very difficult one. We are attached to the body. I heard Prabhupada's lecture would say, okay, if we're not attached to the body, if you're attached to the body, say a building is on fire, are you going to stay in there? Nope, you're not going to stay. You're going to run out because you want to save yourself. You're saving your body, you know. So this material world, it's a fire. It's a forest fire. And we need to get out of it. For one who is always expecting some honor in this material world. So that's honor, pride, illusion, delusion, So pride is due to illusion. For although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he has a foolish notion that he's the Lord of the world. He thus makes all things complicated, and he's always in trouble. It's always a problem. And you can see now, so much trouble in the world. And if we thought at any time before the pandemic that we were comfortable, we got a cruel wake-up call. You can't, people are being locked up, you can't even go anywhere hardly. So it's showing us, no, this material world is gonna be like that. Whether it's a pandemic, or whether it's AIDS, or whether it's the swine flu, or whether it's whatever, it's gonna be like that, because this is not a place for a gentle woman or a gentle man. So something's always gonna be happening that's devastating. Even if we think at one point we're comfortable. I remember also hearing a story about Srila Prabhupada when one devotee, I forget where they were, but he was saying, he asked him, you know, what if the bombs drop? And Prabhupada said, I'll just see it as Krishna. You know, which of us can really say that? You know? When there's a hurricane, I think there was some hurricane or tornado in one of the states in the states of the United States, and people were, you know, like running for cover or going down to, you know, maybe they made a hole in the ground or someplace where they can save themselves. But this whole world is a disaster. It's a prison. And we're fortunate to have these human bodies. We have to take advantage of it, because this human body gives us the way to escape. If we didn't have this human body, we wouldn't be asking the questions of, why am I here? What am I doing here? What am I supposed to do? We can ask that intelligent question, you know, to help us get out of here, to escape the prison, to make the perfect escape. As my Guru Maharaj would say, the perfect escape. You know, we have this human body that's going to help us escape from this fort, this Durga fort. And it says here, people are considering the land, this earth, to belong to human society. They have divided the land under the false impression that they are the proprietors. Now we see that's pretty obvious. That's why there are wars. This piece of land is mine. You cannot come here. Why are you trespassing? You know, you can't come here. And they're fighting over the land. And you know, it's exterminating certain peoples to get that land, or making wars so they can get that land. So many you can see is going on in the material world, because they're thinking this belongs to me, not you, but it belongs to Krishna. We came here with nothing, we're gonna leave here with nothing. Same way. There's one, while I was reading this is, you know, like a small example, but I don't know if this is, you know, like when my father, bless rest his soul, he was very pious. When he left his body, he had been in the army for 40 years and had a big presence. He had a big presence in my life, and he had a big presence in his service in the U.S. Army. He was a captain. So when he finally left his body, he got cancer. And so I went to see him in the hospital. One time, the first visit, you know, went to see him in the hospital. And then I couldn't see him for another week. I think I went about a week afterwards. And then I went into his room. Then I came back out, and I said, "Where's my father?" And the nurse said, "The room you went in, that's your father." And the reason is because he was always such a presence, but I could see in his deterioration, he had become very small. His whole idea of himself had changed. And he seemed like he had the realization that was small. And actually, you could see that realization. That's why I didn't recognize him, because that false ego had to go who you think you are, some big person. I command this, I have this, because he commanded some troops. He had all this, service of being controlled over certain, sections of the army and this and that. But when all of that's taken away from you, then you realize I'm actually infinitesimal. I'm small. I'm smaller than, a grain of sand. And you have that realization. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is a proprietor of this world. When one is freed from such a false notion, he becomes free from all false associations caused by familial, social, and national affections. The faulty associations bind one to this material world. So after this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge. Okay? So I want to talk about, these are some of the hindrances that we have. And because, this is so long, there's so much to talk about in this one. And I particularly wanted to address the issue of envy, because even within our society, we see that anartha is still there. And what I was going to speak about a little bit in terms of this envy, which we have to get rid of, is when we have envy of some other devotee's position or service or how they do things, it means that we don't want them to offer the best to Krishna. It means we are supporting mediocrity. Or we see somebody who cooks better than us, or we see someone who dresses the deities better than us, and we are envious. That means we're saying, don't dress Krishna so nicely. Don't cook so nicely. Don't dress so nicely. So what does that mean? It means we have to recognize that we have this, and it has nothing to do with the other person. It has to do with us. It has to do with us. We have to deal with it. We have to be introspective. We have to start working on it. We see somebody with a position, and we're like, I want that position. Why he has to be whatever, temple president or commander. I want to be, temple commander. So, and this envy will never get you to the spiritual world. You'll never, So you have to work. We have to work on whatever anarthas we see, and we have to be honest. It's not because we admit it that it makes us anything less. It just means that we understand our nature. We understand what is holding us back from developing a deeper relationship with Krishna. And we must want the deepest part of our heart to offer to Krishna that place in our heart where the false ego is. We have to take the false ego out of the heart and make a throne for Krishna to sit there. So I was going to talk about some of the advantages, when you totally surrender to Krishna. What are the advantages of surrendering? What do we, it's not that we want to gain, but they come automatically once you surrender to the Lord, once you give yourself fully to the Lord and depend on, Him fully for everything. So one of them is fearlessness. So those who take shelter have no reason to fear. If you actually take full shelter of Krishna, what is there to fear? If Krishna wants to save you, we know that, then nobody can hurt you. If Krishna wants to hurt you, nobody can save you. He's the controller, of that. So, I was even thinking about, this COVID situation. Whatever devotees leave their body, whatever disease they leave their body with, it's under Krishna's control. Now, we can say, where COVID is so bad, we're so panicked about it, but, we can have a choice. We can leave from a car crash, we can leave from a plane crash, we can leave from a fire in the house, we can leave from a car accident. Just like Tamal Krishna Maharaj was on his way to I think he was leaving Mayapur and he got in a car crash. So looking at the devotees and things that happen to them are different. They're not the same because they have surrendered their life to Krishna, which means that Krishna is controlling everything that's happening to the devotee. And he's just bringing us back home. He wants us more than we want to go back home. We don't want, but he wants, because he loves us so much, and he's missing our association. So fearlessness, we can look at the Pandavas, we can look at our scriptures and see, the Pandavas had so much difficulty, but they was totally surrendered to Krishna. And even though they were having those type of difficulties, they never said, I'm not going to worship Krishna anymore because all he's doing is giving me troubles. He's not saving me. But he was always there. And in the end, he had a plan for their life. He wanted them to be the rulers. So that's what happened despite their difficulties. And despite anything the Kauravas could do to them, was never successful in the end. And look at Prahlad Maharaj, who was, I couldn't even imagine someone putting you with snakes or putting you in boiling water or throw you down the mountain and you're still chanting Krishna. You're so absorbed in Krishna that Krishna comes and rescues you, that none of it affects you. And so another advantage means we don't have any anxiety. The only anxiety we have as devotees is, how can I serve Krishna better? Was this service okay? Am I going to get there on time to make the offering? Can I get there on time to wake him up? Can I make this birthday nicely? That's our anxiety. That's a good anxiety because you want to offer the best. But we shouldn't have any material anxieties. And then we're free from debts and obligations. Where is it? We think that, when someone does something for us, that we have a debt. But that's not so, because Krishna works through persons to help you. Like maybe someone helps you find an apartment or someone helps you do anything and you feel like, okay, I'm obligated to this person because they helped me. But Krishna has to use people to help his devotees. He used devotees to help devotees. So we're not obligated. It's not that, and we're not obligated to, the ancestors or the demigods or, sages or people in general. We're not obligated. And it's not that we become callous or cold. Devotees are never callous and cold. We're kind to everyone. But just understand that we're not obligated. It's said that anyone who has completely surrendered unto Krishna, Mukunda, giving up all other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 11, chapter 5, text 41. Not the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor kinsmen, nor humanity, nor forefathers. So that's no excuse to leave your family because you're not obligated to take care of them. That doesn't make any sense. Of course, you take care of your family. You take care, And then we get free from reactions, and that's said in this verse. Persons, this is in Gita 3:31. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. And then it liberates us from nature's control. We can either come under the control of the divine or spiritual nature, or we can come under the control of the material nature. We can choose. That's the only choice we have, actually. That's what your independence get. You either serve Krishna or you serve Maya. That's what you can do. You know that one, you know, that no one can overcome the material nature. No one. Unless you surrender. Because she, Prakriti, is Krishna's servant. She's his divine nature. And then we get happiness. We can get some happiness if we give ourselves 10% to the Lord. And in this lies our happiness, because all this extraneous activity trying to find happiness in the material world is not there. It's not there. And then our mind becomes stronger, because when we engage our mind in Krishna consciousness by complete surrender to the Supreme Person of Godhead, the mind automatically becomes stronger. The senses become like serpents with broken fangs. And it doesn't mean that we don't make the effort. We have to make the effort. We have to be determined, because we know the mind is crazy. And in the Gita, it talks about how the mind is difficult to control. You know? But we just have to make the effort, make sure we're chanting without offenses, and try to bring the mind back to the vibration, the sound vibration, because we know that Krishna is personally present in his name. So when Krishna sees our effort, of course he wants to help. He sees, okay, they're trying, you know. He gives you some mercy. And we all have had the experience of getting mercy from the Lord, from the smallest thing. You know, like, for instance, standing in front of the deities and praying, and then getting a tulsi leaf with sandalwood on it, sandalwood paste on it, which means it came from his foot, you know. So you got that mercy because you were asking for it. You know, that's his mercy too. You know, you're saying, can I please have some mercy? Can I please have some mercy? I need some today. And then here comes the tulsi leaf, and it's got paste on it, and you're like, thank you so much. You know, everything is personal. We are beggars. That's our position. We have to beg the Lord, please help me. Please, I need it. I can't do anything without your help. And then we get some peace. This is in Gita 5:12. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the results of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is greedy for the fruits of his labor becomes entangled. He becomes in bondage again. And we get relief from suffering. In 1862, which is in this same chapter, O scion of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain the transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. A living entity should therefore surrender unto the Supreme Person of God who is situated in everyone's heart, and that will relieve him from all kinds of misery of this material existence. And we may have some, what we consider to be some suffering, but this is just the residue, because I'm sure you've heard in lectures that the pure devotees will say, yes, there is, you know, you will have some suffering that comes to you, but it gradually dissipates. It's like once you surrender, then, you know, it's like compared to a fan. Prabhupada compared it to a fan. The fan, when you turn it off, it doesn't stop right away. It just keeps kind of going and going and going and going, and finally it stops. You know, so we have that residue. We're coming to the end of the class, but I just wanted to give a few more. I think that was it. So this, let me go back to this paragraph that I really like this one too. It says, the one before that, describing Krishna. Which one was it? With the feather in his... Oh, one should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. And we're all attracted to the deities of Krishna, Balaram, Radha-Shaman, Gaura-Nitai. We just can stand there and they're so, so beautiful. So we're all attracted to, that's why we come to the temple, because we want to see the Lord, we want to see him. And he wants to see us. You know, he wants to see us. He definitely wants to see us. Because, I mean, we can see, you know, his dressing and like that, but, and in another way we can't really see. You know, there's another kind of seeing, you know. So we shouldn't be discouraged. We should have hope. And we should try to cultivate humility, because all the acharyas were very humble, but they were always very enthusiastic. You know, very enthusiastic to serve Krishna, to offer something to Krishna. Even though they were saying things like, I'm lower than a worm in stool, and, you know, like that, or they were persecuted a lot because, and we see in this material world, the people who are trying to follow God, of course, are going to be persecuted, because this world, they don't want God. And why are you wanting God? You know, get out of my sight. It's just like Jesus Christ. You know, when he was, you know, he was preaching to a very low class of people who would turn around and then nail him to the cross. You know, but still, he was never morose, nor did he judge people like Judas, who betrayed him, or Peter, who denied him. You know, he still looked at them with love and compassion. And he said, please forgive them. So that speaks for us to be tolerant in this material world and know that we're going to get, sometimes we're going to get, you know, some negative feedback because we're trying to be godly in this material world. And we're going against the stream. But, you know, everybody's here because they want to hear about Krishna. And everybody's here because they are chanting and they want to learn how to love God and they want to read about him. They want to have Krishna Katha. So on that note, I'll end. And I'm sorry I went over time, but maybe if someone has one or two questions, it's 10 after 6. Yes?
I have one comment on that. You said we come empty-handed, we go empty-handed.
Yes.
There's a comment, yes. Prabhupada said everybody is destined to what he's supposed to get.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't come empty-handed, we come with our destiny.
Mm-hmm.
And when we go, we take Krishna name, and whatever the activities we perform, the karmas we take with us.
Yes, but I was...
We never come empty-handed, we never go empty-handed.
Yes, but I wasn't speaking on that level. I was speaking of in terms of proprietorship. You know, like thinking, you know, collecting so many material things and thinking that they belong to you. What you're saying is true, but I was referring to all the material things that we collect. Thank you. Anyone else? Prabhu?
Hare Krishna. Mataji said in the lecture that if Krishna wants to save us, nobody can hurt us. And he wants to hurt us, nobody can save us.
Yes.
So my question is that after all, Krishna is a loving father. Then why would he want to hurt us?
Well, I mean, like, okay, we can look at anything that Krishna does. Anything that he does is never bad. It's always good, always. Like, okay, so look at all the demons he killed. And, okay, his gatekeepers, Jai and Vijay, who had to come 3 births as demons. And that's a whole deep pastime because he wanted to fight with it. He can't fight with devotees, so he's going to fight with demons. You know, and whoever he kills, Krishna's killing is not material. You always gain something. And even on the battle of Kurukshetra, all those people who were on that war field, I was looking at the film today, They all saw Krishna, but Krishna wanted them all gone. He wanted to kill them all because they were obstructing what he wanted to create with the Pandavas in terms of religion. And it's said that he comes to address irreligion. So when he kills, it's different. It's not, we can't see it as killing like in the material world. It's totally on another level, and everything he does is good. Everything. Killing or saving. No? Okay?
Can I say one thing to what he said?
Yes.
Like, Mare Krishna Rakhe Kon, Rakhe Krishna Mare Kon. See, we are all, at least I'm talking about myself, we are all rascals. So when Prabhupada, all the acharyas, they're teaching us, you know, if everything was very happy and nice, we wouldn't cry out and go to Krishna. But one thing hammers on us, and we go crying to Krishna. Like Mother Kunti was, you know, praying, please give me difficulties so I remember you. When we have happiness, we forget Krishna.
But I know that I'm not advanced enough to ask for troubles. They come automatically.
Yeah, no, he was saying.
Yes, yeah, but he was talking about killing and saving. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for all attending. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.